in our Java predefined method overview class, I have already explained the math class, and using this documentations how you can get the number of method under this math class, right? So now I have just pick up few math class method in my Excel, which is very important, and I will try to show you in Eclipse how these are working and what is their result. Now if you can check here, so I have pick up actually 14 Java method for this math class, and few are basically same. Why I take same name, because you can see here that first math function is basically taking two input parameter of integer type. Second is basically taking again two input parameter, but these are long type, then float type and double type. Same for minimum functions. Then sqrt, there is another functions, power functions, random function, multiplications functions, and finally the subtraction function. So we will go one by one and check how it will work and what are the result I am getting in Eclipse. So first we will check max function. So what its definition say, return the greatest of two int values. So you can see here, if I pass two integer value and take this math function, then this will be written as a integer type, and in between these two, what is the maximum one that will be written. So let's check this one in Eclipse. So I have opened my Eclipse and I have already created a math function demo under com.demo.predefined package. Now if I double click here, now our first aim is to create a max function with two input variable. Both are basically integer type, and it will return a int value. So let me create a int variable. Let's say I will try to collect the return value. I am making it as a red val, then equal to, and it's a math function, right? math. Then we will try to use the max function, and then under that max function let's create an integer 10 and another integer, let's say 5. So it is a max function, that's mean it should return the maximum between 10 and 5. Now if I try to print this red val using system.out.println, now if I try to run this one after saving, so if I click on this run button, you can check that these max functions basically find out the max between 10 and 5, and 8 will collected here, and that will be show using this println statement. So if I run here, you can see that I am getting the value as 10, right? Now let me make the second one bigger. So if I make like this and save it, so 10 and 50, definitely 50 will be the max, and this max function will return this 50 that will be collected in the red well, and then that will be printed here. So if I run it, so you can see the 50 is coming here. So this is basically math function. This max function return the maximum between these two. Now if I go to the Excel, then you can see here that you can pass some long value, some float value, some double value, and their return type should be long, float and double. Okay, so you can do it from your side as well. Now I am going to the mean functions with two integer value, and the return type is also int, and you can see here it will return the smallest between these two. Between these two means A and B. So if I go to Eclipse again and let me create another variable, let's say this is redval 2, and again I am trying to use this math class minimum functions. Okay, so if I use this one and if I create two variable, let's say 10 and 20, two integer number passing here, so you can see here this is my mean function, and here the two value is 10 and 20. Then if I use system.out.println statement and try to print this redval 2, then it will basically give me the minimum value between this 10 and 20, and let me comment it so that we can only get this print statement. Okay, now if I run it here after save, then you can see here 10 is my minimum number between 10 and 20. Now let me make it 5 so that the second one is minimum, right? Now if I run it again here, so you can see here I am getting the value as 5, right? Because 10 and 5 is the smallest one that is collected here, and then I am trying to print this one, right? So this way you can use these minimum functions of math class to find out the minimum value between two integer number. And if you go to this Excel, then you can check here that the input parameter can be integer, can be long, can be float, can be double, and their return type is also based on this input parameter, right? So you can do the rest of these three from your side. Now next one is sqrt. What is this? So this is basically square root. So you can see here it return the correctly rounded positive square root of a double value. So we can pass a double value here and it will basically give us the square root of that value, and definitely its return type will be double. So let's check this in Eclipse. So let me create another return val and it should be a double type, double then red val 3 equal to, we again use the math class dot square root sqrt, right? And under that let create a perfect square, let's say 25. Okay, if I make it as a 25, then definitely its square root should be 5, right? So this return val 3 will be collect the square root of 25, that should be 5. Now if I try to print this one, this return val 3, so this should be print 5, and let me again comment this one. Now if you save and run it, so you can see that for this 25 I am getting 5.0. This is a perfect square, right? And as it's a double value, so it is giving me 5.0. Similar way, if I try to create some another value here, so let's say 100, so this is also a perfect square, and what is the square root? That is basically 10. So if you run it here, so you can get the value 10.0, right? Now let's create another value, let's say 65, right? It is not a perfect square, but you can get the exact value using this double return type. So if you again run this, so you can get the exact value of the 65 square root. So 65 is something like 8.06 something dot something like this. So this will be collected under this red val 3, and I am trying to print this one. So this is basically a square root functions under math class. Now if we're coming to the next, so you can see here this is a power function. So return the value of the first argument, that's mean this one, raised to the power of the second argument. So if I make it here like 5, a is 5 and then b is basically 2, it's mean it is 5 to the power 2, that is nothing but 5 square, and we will get a result 25. So let's check this one, and its return type is double. Okay, so let me again comment it and create another red val of double type, and we are going to use math class power functions, POW. Okay, now you can see here there are two input parameter needed, so let me put the 5 first and second one is 2. That's mean we are trying to create a 5 square. Now it's mean it will return, this power functions will return for this input parameter 5 to the power 2 or 5 square, that is nothing but 25, and that will be collected here. Now if I try to print this value red val 4, so it should print me, or it should give me 25. So let's save it and run it. So you can see here it's give me 25, and as it's a double, so that's why I'm getting 25.0. now if you make something, let's say 5 cube, okay, so after save, if you run it here, so you can see here 5q is nothing but 125.0, right? So that is collected here, and that I am trying to print here. Now if you go to this Excel again and check the next function, this is called random functions. What it's mean? Every time you run using this method, you will return a different set of value. So it's a return a double value with positive sign greater than or equal to 00 and less than 1.0. So number of time we face some situations in our programming or in our code logic where we need this type of random number. So once you need this type of random number for your programming logic, you can use these functions random, that is basically a math class functions, and you can see here the return type is double. So let me create another double variable and also comment this. Now double ret val, let's say 5, and now we are trying to use the random functions of math class. Now once the value is collected under this red val 5, let's print that one. So this is my red val 5 variable. So if I put it here, so that's mean whatever the value collected from these random functions under this red val 5, that will be printed here. Now save it and then run it. So once you run, you can see I am getting the value 0 0.14, something like this. Now let me run it again. Now you can see I am getting the different number. So every time you run you will get different number. See, now dot 77 something. Then if I run it again, so you can see here dot 97. If I run it again, so you can see here I am getting 43. And you, if you notice, all this return value or all this printing value for this random function, these are nothing but greater than or equal to 0 and less than 1, means in between this. Okay, so let me run it again, and you can see that this is not 0, this is definitely greater than 0, and this is also less than 1. So you can see here the same definitions, greater than or equal to 0, it could be, or it could be less than 1. So this is the random functions. So based on our project need or our coding logic need, we can use these random functions under math class. Now the next one is multiple exact, and the parameter, two parameter is needed, x, y, and these are basically two different type. The first method you can see here, they are basically taking integer type parameter, and this is basically taking long type parameter, and based on that the return type is long or int. Okay, and if you check the definitions, so return the product of arguments, throwing an exceptions if the result overflow an int. What it's mean? So you can see that x and y, it's a multiple exact, so definitely if I make it like 2 and then 3, so it will give me the product 2 into 3, that is basically 6. But sometime it can be possible that you put some integer value here and you put some integer value here, and they are almost in a top range of integer level, though they not cross the integer level but just below the integer limit. But once you make a product, so definitely that will be cross the integer. So that's why you can see here the throwing an exceptions if the result mean the product result overflow the limit of integer. Okay, and same thing and same definitions is given for the long as well, throwing an exceptions if the result overflow a long limit, right? So currently we are only trying to use this multiple exact with integer value, a small type of integer value, let's say 10 and 5, and let's check it is giving the exact product or not. And the return type is basically for this is int. So let me again comment this and create a integer return type, let's say int rate val then 6, and I will try to use the math class, which method, that is basically multiple exact, right, with two integer parameter, let's say 10 first one and second one is 5. So as per the definition, it should give me the product that is nothing but 10 5s are 50, and that will be collected under this redval 6. Now if I try to make a system.out.println for this redval 6 value, then after save, if I run it here, so you can see I am getting the result of this product, that is basically 10 5s are 50. If I make it like let's say 12, so 12 5s are, save it using control s, and if I run it here, so it should be 60, right? So it is basically giving me the multiplications of these two parameter. Now if I go to this excel again, so you can do it for long input parameter as well, so do it from your side for this long one. Now the last one is basically subtract exact, and this is basically taking two long type input parameter and return type is long. So as the name suggests, so it should be give us the subtractions between these two, right? So that should be x minus y. So return the difference of the argument, throwing an exceptions if the result overflow the long. It is again showing this type of thing, that if it's cross the longs limit, then it will give or it will throw some exceptions. So let's check that with some simple value, subtraction value is coming properly or not. Before that, let's comment it out, then create another variable of long type, let's say it is redval 7, and we are trying to use math dot subtract exact, and these are basically two, let's say long type 12 one. I'm giving a simple value 12 and 5. So you can see here it should give me 12 minus 5, that is nothing but 7, and that 7 will be collected under readval7 variable. Then if I try to print is using println statement and put it here, so now if I save it and run it, so you can get the exact value is 7. Now it's a subtractions, right? So if I make it 5 and then I make it, let's say 15, so 5 minus 15, it should give me a negative value of 10, that is minus 10. So if you know subtract manually, 5 minus 15, that is nothing but minus 10. If I make it, let's say 25, so it should be minus 20. If I run it here, so you can see here it should be minus 20, and the same thing I am getting here. So this way you can use number of math functions. Even you can go to these documentations and check the math class, number of functions are there, but here I have basically put it most important that I generally use in my career. So this type of functions generally you will also get on your career journey. Now based on our need we can use this one. I have just giving you an very basic idea and basic overview, but based on our project purpose or coding purpose we can take the dynamic value. Based on that we can or based on our business logic we can play with this type of methods. So hope you understand this, and in our next class we will try to create some exact functions with this type of methods.
I believe this video has helped you to understand about the topic. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe, click on the bell notifications and select all so that you don't miss any video from this channel.